Lawmakers are demanding the Justice Department reveal more information about the documents found in the Mar-a-Lago search.
That's right. The search warrant revealed the FBI is investigating 3 possible federal crimes. The list includes violating the Espionage Act, obstruction of justice, and criminal handling of government records. Donald Trump is calling the investigation a hoax and has asked the FBI to return the material.
Joining us now for more on this is CBS News congressional correspondent Scott Macfarlane. Scott, it's been a few days now since the night when we learned from the former president himself that this search warrant had been executed. He called it a raid. What have we learned since that moment of knowing basically nothing to today?
Hard to believe, Tony. It's been a full week since agents were on site at Mar-a-Lago doing this search. In 7 days, a lot's happened. The weekend began with the unsealing of the search warrant and the inventory listing the things federal agents took from Mar-a-Lago a week ago, including about a dozen different items that were listed as either classified or secret. The weekend ends with a renewed request from members of Congress from both Democrats and Republicans and members of the media for the unsealing of the affidavit. That's the summary, the narrative federal agents submitted to get the judge to sign off on this search. The affidavit, if passed as prologue, Tony and Tanya, is a blunt, point-blank description, almost a sell of why they need to go on the grounds and do that provocative thing, search the grounds of a former president's home. If the affidavit's unsealed, we'll get a sense as to the argument the feds made to get the access, but also what this investigation is, the trajectory it's on, or what they suspected before going on site. We'll see what the judges say and what the Justice Department says about these requests to unseal the affidavit, but that's going to answer a lot of questions if it comes out as this week begins.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And Scott, several members of Congress, as you know, have called for more oversight. Some about the documents seized, others about the search itself, the fact of the search. What more can you tell us about these requests from Capitol Hill?
No surprise. Many members of Congress have many things to say. The Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee said they'd like to see answers or explanations from the FBI and from the U.S. Department of Justice, making this argument on Friday that they suspect or fear the FBI is being unfair or disproportionately fixated on former President Trump versus anything else that they investigate. They said they have questions, but they didn't really have a sense as to why this was specifically unfair. They say they don't know what they don't know, yet they took the time to issue their criticisms. The other issue here is Democrats want to have answers as to what may have been compromised in having potentially secret, potentially classified information at a private resort in Florida. So they want explanations. So both sides are pushing for information, but citing different motives in the process. All that being said, the public that's engaged in this issue likely wants some answers as well. But if the Justice Department moves at its deliberate speed under its hard and fast rules of not detailing investigations unless or until there's actually a case filed.
Yeah, well, might just have to wait back. And you know, members of Congress are very good for a quote, not always good for an answer. And there's a subtle difference there. But Scott, before we let you go, there's a separate Trump investigation going on in the state of Georgia regarding the 2020 election, and a federal judge there has ruled that Senator Lindsey Graham, staunch supporter of the former president, must testify before a state grand jury there, a grand jury investigating whether the former president criminally attempted to overturn his 2020 election loss there in the state. What more do we know? What's important about this case?
Now, keep an eye on this case. This case is moving quickly. Senator Graham also made a call to Georgia election officials after Election Day 2020, much like President Trump did. The grand jury investigations looking into any pressure campaign on the election officials. The local prosecutor in Fulton County, Georgia, has said that Senator Graham may have applied pressure, undue pressure on election officials. Senator Graham wants to get rid of this subpoena. He wants it quashed. He's saying he was part of the legislative process, making calls as a fact finder, as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The judge today, in a ruling, disagreed and said that that testimony should move forward, that facts should be found by the grand jury. It's scheduled for August 23rd. It's a week from tomorrow, though we're quite certain Senator Graham will appeal again.
Right. All right. We'll have to wait and see how that works out on that appeal. Scott Macfarlane in Washington, thank you so much for that.